Good evening. Welcome to the 18th Annual Gilbert M. Grosvenor Distinguished Lecture. My name is Dick Bain, and I am the director of the Grosvenor Center for Geographic Education, located here on the Texas State University campus in the Department of Geography. The Grosvenor Center, founded in 1998, is the leading center in geography education in the world, and exists as a powerful reminder of the close cooperation for more than 3 decades between Texas State University and the National Geographic Society. That cooperation has put the spotlight on various component parts of the Grosvenor Center, including the Texas Alliance for Geographic Education, the Grosvenor Scholars Program, Grosvenor Fellows, this distinguished lecture, and the scholarly journal Research in Geography Education. These activities reflect the support of 3 $1 million plus endowments. Our speaker tonight gives vivid testimony to the close relations of these 2 institutions. Which brings me to a point in these proceedings where I get to introduce one of my favorite people, Texas State President Denise Trouth. Let me begin with an unusual fact. When you came in this building, downstairs, you saw portraits of all our presidents. I have actually served under all but 2. I know, that's a little embarrassing to admit that. It says something about my age, I guess, longevity, well, I don't know. In any case, because of that, I feel comfortable telling you that President Trouth has been the most energetic, the most visionary, the most productive president we have ever had. I think 3 examples are appropriate. 1, we are moving quickly in the direction of an R1, Research 1 institution. Secondly, we have become a Hispanic serving institution with more than half of the student body comprised of ethnic minorities. This is important in creating a diverse learning environment. And it's a huge plus when our faculty send grant applications to funding sources such as the National Science Foundation, U.S. Department of Education, and others. And third, she has shepherded a $1 billion plus building campaign on 3 campuses, necessary as Texas State continues to grow to close to 40,000 students. I'm not going to tell you how many were here when I came, but there weren't many students, that's for sure. In any case, may I present to you our president, Dr. Denise Trouth.
Thank you, Dr. Bain. On behalf of Texas State University, it is my pleasure to welcome all of you to the Gilbert M. Grosvenor Distinguished Lecture. And tonight we're honored to have Dr. Gary Knell, President and CEO of the National Geographic Society, with us to deliver the 18th installment of the Grosvenor Distinguished Lecture Series. This is an exciting occasion for a lot of reasons, and I know the first is that Dr. Knell's lecture on how people interact with the environment and with each other will be fascinating. But tonight also highlights 3 decades of partnerships with National Geographic, who has been just a wonderful partner for Texas State University. In a lot of ways, we have shared values between our two institutions because we celebrate the powerful ripple effect of geography education in our schools, in the communities they serve, and indeed around the world. National Geographic's profound impact on Texas State is evident in so many ways. The Texas Alliance, the Grosvenor Scholar Program, the Texas Fund for Geographic Education, and Teaching with the Stars are some of the initiatives that devolve from this partnership. And certainly, our association with National Geographic has helped our Department of Geography become one of the most prominent in the world. With 37 faculty and more than 650 students, our geography program is one of the largest in the United States. With the help of the National Science Foundation, we created the National Center for Research in Geography Education, which is a worldwide leader in geography education research. We now manage a research coordination network that includes 54 universities in this country and has 12 international partners. National Geographic has supported a robust portfolio of programs that have given our students, our faculty and staff, stellar opportunities to be better engaged in geography education. Earlier this year, we recognized the National Geographic Society as a Texas State hero, and we established the banner that you can see here. This designation of hero status is one we give to individuals and organizations that have given the university $1 million or more. As you know, this lecture series is named for Gilbert Grosvenor, the longtime chairman of the board of the National Geographic Society. He was a champion of geographic education and a recipient of the Presidential Medal of Freedom, and he delivered the first Grosvenor Lecture in 1998. And that same year, we opened the Grosvenor Center for Geographic Education. And over the years, this distinguished lecture series has had a very high-profile number of speakers, including U.S. Secretary of State James Baker III, U.S. Senator K. Billy Hutchinson, Senior Advisor to President George W. Bush, Karl Rove, and most recently, Her Excellency, Dr. Joyce Banda, who was the President of the Republic of Malawi. Tonight's speaker, Dr. Gary Knell, is in excellent company with these international leaders. In closing, I'd like to recognize several groups. First and foremost, our faculty and staff who inspire our students and advance fascinating fields of research. I'd also like to thank our leadership, Dr. Albert Giordano, the chair of the Department of Geography, Dean Mary Brennan from the College of Liberal Arts, and Jean Bourgeois, our provost. And of course, we're very proud of our students and our alums from the geography programs. They step into professions that they're well prepared for, and they improve the world. And now I'm looking forward to our distinguished speaker who will share his thoughts with us tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, President Trouth. I'm going to say unabashedly that the amazing successes of the Geography Department and Geography Education Program, of course, are related to hard work, energy, and vision, but it also maybe would not happen without the support of the higher administration. And Dr. Trouth has supported our geography program and geography education program steadfastly for the whole time that she's been on this campus. So I want to thank you for that. Okay, Our speaker tonight is a media giant. I had to look over and see what kind of reaction he would have to that one. It's amazingly coincidental. Mr. Knell came over to the geography department just a bit before this lecture with Dr. Giordano to look at the department, look at the Grosvenor Center, and so on. And I was sitting in my office waiting for them and reading my latest issue of The Economist. And here's a whole section on giant corporate finance, talking about Rupert Murdoch, Fox, all these corporations and so on. And I'm reading down this list of who's doing what. And here I see National Geographic, Nat Geo, Media. And there's a chart in there, and it shows how important Nat Geo Media is to the Fox network, to Rupert Murdoch's empire. And the person that negotiated that relationship is sitting here in this room tonight and is going to talk to us very, very shortly. I just wanted, like I said, that was very coincidental. I didn't plan that. It's not in my notes at all, but rather amazing, I think, when you sit there and read about someone that is operating at that level and now is sharing an evening with us in this room. Our speaker has had over 3 decades in a career, a high-level career, in media positions. He was president and CEO of Sesame Workshop. He was managing director of the International Multimedia Publishing Company and served as CEO of National Public Radio for the 3 years before he became president and CEO of National Geographic Society. He has been awarded 2 honorary doctorates and has been a commencement speaker at UCLA, University of Redlands, University of Texas at Austin, University of Texas at Austin. I don't know why that one faded out. and Johns Hopkins University. Now a couple of personal comments, if you don't mind. For most of my adult life as a professional geographer and geographic educator, I've had one hero. That would be Gil Grosvenor, the person our center is named after, and the third in line of the Grosvenors who have directed the National Geographic Society for most of the 20th century. With Gil's retirement, many of us wondered what would happen to the Society's future commitment to geography education. Would it disappear? Would it change? Would it be submerged beneath NGS's leading worldwide role in television, publications, movie making, research, and exploration? My concerns disappeared as the new person stepped to center stage and revealed his vision for the next great period of leadership in geography education in the United States. That person is Gary Knell, our speaker this evening, and current president and CEO of National Geographic Society. His future plan for the National Geographic Society is highlighted on a broad and visible marquee that states, "Inspire, illuminate, and teach." He will speak to us this evening about Generation Geography, his plan for upgrading global awareness among the world's technologically savvy learners. May I present to you our 18th Grosvenor Distinguished Lecturer, Mr. Gary E. Knell.
I'm not sure, does this? No. Good evening, everybody. And yes, I did give the commencement address at UT a few years ago with Cookie Monster. It is true. So I don't think any of the students will remember what I said, but they'll all remember Cookie Monster for sure. It's really a privilege to be here tonight, and in honor of Gil Grosvenor, who is certainly one of my mentors as well, and I want to thank President Trouth and Dick Boehm, who's done so much for geography education, and you've left a legacy here with the geography department, and I salute the 650 majors. It may be the largest school in the country in terms of geography majors, which is really cool. How many of you are geography majors? Very cool. Are they getting credit for this tonight, or is it, did you make them come to this? Okay. It'll help, at least 1 point on your final exam. Okay, so to get you in the mood for this, Brenda Barr, wave Brenda, who's done a lot for geography education, is acting tonight as my tech associate, and we'd like to just get you in the mood a little bit about this evening.
From a distance, it always seems impossible. But impossible is just a place we haven't been to yet. Impossible is what beckons us to go further, to explore. It calls us from the wild, lures us into the unknown, asks us to dig deeper, to look at things from new perspectives, and sometimes forces us to change the way we see. The impossible appears in the darkest hours, taunts us with answers in the most unlikely places, hides solutions where there once were none. It can drive us to the brink, but it's what beats in the heart of every explorer. Because the further we go into the impossible, the closer we are to making it possible.
So I want to start by taking a closer look at what the term geography means today, following up on Dick's introduction, and why geography is so critical to our natural world and the health of our environment, to our culture and other cultures around the globe, and to the very future of humankind on our planet. What better way to talk about the importance of this topic than to focus on your home turf? Let's talk about the great state of Texas. Geography can mean the natural landscape and all of its majesty. The image you see is a breathtaking view of Big Bend National Park, the largest protected area of Chihuahuan Desert in the United States. When we talk about geography, we also sometimes think about the challenges facing our natural world, as well as the devastating impact it can have on communities and people. Sometimes geography is as simple as a map, but of course every map holds a million complexities and tells a million stories. This one here shows the incredible odyssey that National Geographic contributor Andrew Evans took across the state a few years ago. He covered 5,000 miles, trail running between the multicolored sandstone formations of Palo Duro Canyon, and then he hung out with this guy at South by Southwest in Austin. And stopping by South Padre Island to visit with a sea turtle, whose name is Jerry, in case you're wondering. So geography represents the many, many different dimensions and facets that a single state or a region or a country or a continent may contain. The richness and diversity and pure wonder of our world, but also the challenges and the sorrow. This is an 8-year-old Dilaga Kandaga, a shy, skinny boy with tired eyes, interviewed by one of our explorers in the latest issue of National Geographic magazine. Now, Dilaga is stranded by himself in a refugee center near Serbia's border with Croatia, thousands of miles away from his mom and dad and 4 younger siblings. He fled his home in Afghanistan more than a year ago with his 10-year-old cousin and a 15-year-old uncle to escape the Taliban and ISIS in an attempt to get to France. Forced to rely on smugglers, they traveled nearly 4,000 miles, but then got stuck in Serbia due to border crackdowns. Now he lives with a group of other children left to fend for themselves, trying to survive in a canvas-covered hangar with no school to go and to do nothing but mark time. He's hungry, it's freezing cold, and he only has a t-shirt to wear. Our reporter writes that he has goosebumps from shivering and his skin is covered in scabies. His eyes are haunting. Delegat tells our reporter there is nothing here and that he misses his parents and doesn't know what to do. He's one of 300,000 refugee children who fled their homelands without an adult with them in 2015 and 2016 alone, a five-fold increase over the previous years. This too is geography. The men, women, and children around the world who are suffering because of where they were born or the circumstances they were born into, or the danger and violence inflicted by other people on them. The lives and fates of people like Delegat depend on whether the rest of the world is aware and understands the plight of those in need, whether they live a continent away or in the next country. Geography raises consciousness and connects people no matter the distance. It creates empathy and engagement. And as Gil Grosvenor said in the first ever lecture in this series, it allows us to analyze the past and anticipate the future. I'm here today to talk about really why geography is more important than perhaps ever before in our history. Because as we all know, our world is growing much more complex every single day. And I'm here to talk about what we can do together to help our young people become more socially conscious and informed change makers, working and striving to achieve a planet in balance. How we can help them become what we call at National Geographic Generation Geography. Today, the latest technologies, as we all know, are creating amazing new ways to engage and interact with one another, but they're also causing massive disruption. True connection, human connection, is too often being lost. Overpopulation threatens our very existence. By 2050, we will have over 9 billion people on this planet. Twice as many today are on this planet than since when I graduated high school, and it wasn't that long ago. We will require by 2050 the equivalent of 3 planets worth of resources just to feed, provide energy for, house, educate all these people. Nigeria will have more people than the United States by 2050 in population. 1 billion more people in Africa alone in the next 35 years. So from population explosion to damage to our environment to rising geopolitical tensions, we need younger people around the globe to be more aware and to take on these enormous challenges. But even though the stakes are rising, research shows us that basic understanding of the world and geography is dangerously lacking. We did a survey of freshmen with the Council on Foreign Relations a year ago actually. And unfortunately, here were the results. Nearly half couldn't identify that Sudan was on the African continent. Only about a quarter knew the United States is bound by a treaty to protect Japan if it is attacked. And less than a third knew that Congress has the constitutional authority to declare war. I think that was, most people in Washington probably have the same view. Another survey, this one by the New York Times, showed that only 36% of Americans can locate North Korea on a map. So that means we need, all of us in this room who care about this, our relevance is more important than ever. We need talented educators and geographers and educational leaders such as those at Texas State with your incredible commitment to geographic education. And we need people from the outside community, like people from San Marcos here tonight and beyond, who support those who are working to champion this type of knowledge. Geography is about each of us, bringing together leaders and thinkers dedicated to scientific discovery and understanding is integral to our mission at the National Geographic Society. In fact, our organization was created on this very premise. The society was founded in 1888, and unlike Dick, I was not there at the beginning. 33 of DC's top scientific and intellectual leaders, most of whom looked like they could be baristas doing lattes today. Many were the millennial leaders of their time. They were folks like John Wesley Powell and others who were out there doing incredible things. They decided to join forces together to increase and diffuse geographic knowledge. In fact, the first issue of National Geographic magazine, which y'all have a copy of at the Grosvenor Center here, has an amazing article on the geologic strata of the Potomac River, which was a real page turner, I can tell you. So it was way before social media and the web. So instead of tweeting or posting, they actually did put together this 50-cent journal with a plain brown cover. And they had feature articles like the ones I just mentioned. But a few years later, Alexander Graham Bell, who was the second president of National Geographic, who also, as you all know, invented the telephone and still gets royalties from all those calls you make on your cell phone. And also, what you don't know is he came within 1 week of getting the first airplane into flight, 1 week behind the Wright brothers. This guy was a serial inventor. He was the Steve Jobs of his day. And he took over as the society's president. And with Gil Grosvenor's grandfather, actually, this inventor, teacher, and visionary was really the true original disruptor, as we like to call it. He was the father-in-law of Gilbert H. Grosvenor, Gil's grandfather, and who became the first full-time editor of National Geographic magazine. And Bell made a radical decision to have photographs be a key feature of the magazine. 2 members of the board quit in protest because they thought it would be cheesy and dumb down the science. One even quit over the amazing idea that it could popularize the magazine. So it means that don't always listen to your board of directors. So no, not really. But they navigated through their differences. And since that time, for more than a century now, we've remained focused on educating, exploring, discussing, inspiring, and investing in bold people and transformative ideas. We funded American professor Hiram Bingham on his expedition to uncover the mysteries of Machu Picchu in Peru, and legendary ocean explorer and advocate Jacques Cousteau, and primatologist and subject of this incredible new documentary, Jane Goodall, that I hope you'll get a chance to see. It actually last night won the National Board of Review Best Documentary of the Year, called Jane. What's wonderful about this documentary is that it was actually directed by the guy who did the documentary on Kurt Cobain, Montage of Heck. So, and the other one on the Rolling Stones, and he's doing one on David Bowie, so Jane Goodall's perfect fit. So, but it's an incredible documentary that I urge you all to go see. It got a 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. So this is really a great film and very inspiring. But all of these folks started out like each of you. As students, Jane Goodall actually didn't even graduate college. She was down in Africa trying to learn about being an assistant on a paleoanthropology tour with Louis Leakey, and who then sent her over to Gombe, where she did all of her work with chimpanzees, and the rest is history. So today, as part of our nearly 130-year history of promoting science and exploration, we jump ahead to 2017. And National Geographic is still working in new ways to explore and illuminate what's going on the planet, to tell the stories of the courageous men and women trying to protect our natural world. So today, National Geographic's media reaches over 760 million people around the world. The magazine is published in 33 languages. The channel airs in 172 countries and 43 languages. And we have more than 83 million followers on Instagram. We're just behind Kim Kardashian, okay? So, and we're not gonna rest until we pass Kim Kardashian. So I want everybody to tell their friends and neighbors here tonight to please follow us on Instagram. We're also steadfastly committed to helping educate the world, and the next generation in particular, about the importance of geography. And we're committed to helping the educators who are making heroic efforts every day to do the same. Throughout our history, National Geographic has constantly worked to advance education and geographic literacy. And for more than 30 years, as Dick mentioned in his opening, we've been strongly dedicated to supporting K-12 education, providing resources and training to thousands of educators around the world, supporting the writing of the original National Geographic standards in the United States, and creating a classroom magazine specifically for students. Our deep commitment to education owes much to the dedication and vision of the Grosvenor family. As the editor-in-chief of National Geographic magazine, president of the society, and then chairman of the board, Gilbert M. Grosvenor has helped significantly broaden National Geographic's reach through children's publications, through local language editions of the magazines and books, television, and geography education. He also created the National Geographic Education Foundation, which over the years has trained hundreds of thousands of teachers across the United States. And we're working now every day to build on Gil's extraordinary legacy and carry forward his charge. In fact, National Geographic is committing to increase our investment in education. We believe our powerful support of educators, our science and exploration, and our digital reach makes uniquely positioned to engage younger generations. We know today that everyone under say 22 grew up using screens and learning on screens, digital natives as opposed to us digital immigrants. In fact, in 2011, less than 1% of children under the age of 9 had a tablet of their own. This is 5 years ago. A recent study shows that number has now gone to 42%. 42% of American kids today under the age of 9 own a tablet. That's why we're evolving our capabilities and approach to reach students where they are and educate them on the platforms that they want to learn on. We're now investing in storytellers and technologists, educators and mappers through our grant making, and creating a state-of-the-art digital platform for students and educators. We're fundamentally changing the way that we connect with kids and the educational community. And in doing so, we're doing our part to transform geographic education. Over the next few years, National Geographic will be implementing a new expanded strategy to help educators cultivate and nurture geographic knowledge, scientific approaches, and critical thinking skills. Broadly speaking, our new strategy is aimed at empowering educators with the resources and its network connections needed to inform classroom teaching into experiential, authentic learning. This in turn will help prepare students to become critical thinkers, engaged citizens, and responsible stewards of the planet. Here's a look at how National Geographic, through our content and explorers, is creating what we think somewhat unforgettable learning experiences for students and bringing geography to life in fantastic new ways.
Hi, Mrs. Damar's class.
Hi, Mrs. Bergen's class.
My second grade class had the opportunity to learn about an emerging explorer doing some groundbreaking things in their field, and then create a project around what they're doing and their mission.
They were innately mesmerized by this from the start.
I was just very touched and flattered by the great job you guys did.
We were watching the video, and then when it was over, he walked in the door. We were mind blown.
She walked in and everything went quiet.
I am not dreaming. This is real. I'm meeting India.
So we've created a new, highly interactive community for educators and a site which provides educators with exciting content on a wide range of subjects, including geography, science, and exploration, global challenges, and diverse cultures all around the world. This online community features National Geographic explorers, storytellers, and photographers, and provides a space for educators to connect and learn from one another. Our focus on geographic literacy today is bolder and more ambitious than ever before. We're so proud of our 3 decades-long relationship with Texas State and the Grosvenor Center, and our work together to advance education on the national and local level. And we're so pleased to help advance the center's powerful mission and to help advance geographic education. Part of the way we see this is that we surface new education ideas through grants and fellowships. We're calling this our R&D. Our first education fellow, a guy named Joe Grabowski, is doing an incredible job helping us build out 4 Explorer classrooms. He connects classrooms with explorers directly working in the field across our digital platforms. Here's a look at his work with Explorer in Residence Lee Berger in South Africa.
With no further ado, let's go live with Lee and his team in South Africa. Good afternoon to you, Lee.
Hi, good morning to you, Joe, and good afternoon to the classroom in Germany. It's fantastic to be here. This is very exciting for us because it's the first test of technology like this where we're actually taking the internet down hundreds of meters into these cave systems, into places where really only scientists have been before. And so it's very exciting to be able to bring this to both the classrooms that we're talking to, as well as the people who are watching in.
Just recently, the National Geographic Society launched new one-year fellowship opportunities for educators and education thought leaders for the 2017-18 school year. And these fellows will support innovative project development and help us incubate new ideas. And today we're thrilled to announce the 3 additional fellows. They are Alex Oberle from the University of Northern Iowa, who will work on our GeoInquiry National Initiative. And his educational efforts are designed to help students understand the world by examining the patterns, processes, and interactions between human and natural systems. This GeoInquiry process allows students and educators to use geographic skills to solve community issues. Our second fellow is Kavita Gupta, who teaches chemistry at Comprehensive Public High School in Cupertino, California. Kavita will share best practices from her deconstructing events, educational experiences that are multidisciplinary and highly creative. And our third fellow is Jim Bentley, a teacher in Elk Grove Middle School in California. Jim will help develop the extensive library of educational assets we make available to educators around the world. Content that has a coolness factor that draws children right in. For example, imagine a lesson on plate tectonics with a video about volcanoes like this in the classroom.
Doesn't get much better than an erupting volcano on Vanuatu. We were there to investigate how quickly microbial colonization happens on rocks.
All right, so let's use the drone to...
We were able to take a series of thousands of photographs around the top of the crater and then render the first of its kind 3D model of the volcano from inside.
Having the cameras everywhere is critical because we can go back and see exactly how closely distributed these newly formed rocks were. Within the caldera as a whole, there's certainly life. How microbes colonize this particular substrate is a good example of what has happened across the planet throughout geologic time.
Don't try this at home. So we're so excited about the future and what it holds for our education program, and most importantly about the future of geographic education, from K-12 and across higher education and lifetime learning around the globe, as we like to say, from cradle to cane. And we're so honored to be associated with the Grosvenor Center and Texas State and all the amazing teachers and future teachers here on this campus. Together we can work to advance the world's knowledge of geography and of understanding of why it is so critical to raise awareness of different cultures, places, and above all, people around the globe. Together we can educate younger people that this knowledge is the key to helping solve the major challenges of our time. And in doing so, we can encourage them to become the generation geography we need them to be. Together we can help build a more humane and peaceful world, where each of us recognizes our responsibility to help our fellow global citizens. A world where no 8-year-old ever again has to be stranded alone in a refugee camp thousands of miles away from his parents with no hope and no idea of what the future holds. In the interview with our reporter, little Delegate said he didn't know what to do next. He said, and I quote, "I can do nothing, but all of us can." As Jane Goodall says, none of us can do everything, but everyone can do something. We can become geography evangelists. With the great work of the Grosvenor Center, and with the commitment and passion of the support of teachers and storytellers like National Geographic and all of you in this audience tonight, we can and we will work to drive progress. And maybe that's the best way to define what geography means. In a world full of disruption and conflict, geography is a way to connect and inspire and create lasting and meaningful change. Thank you very much.
Today over lunch, I convinced Gary to take some questions tonight after his talk, and I'm sure that you have some things on your mind that you would like to ask him about. But before we do that, I have a small gift for him. Cookies. Okay. All right. I'm going to show this to everyone there, because there are only 18 of these in existence in the world. This is the Grosvenor Medal that the Grosvenor Center gives to our distinguished lecturers every year. And this is the 18th lecture, and Gary Knell is going to now receive the Grosvenor Medal. On the back of this medal, you get Gil Grosvenor's statement about how National Geographic Society intends to return geography to its rightful position in America's schools. And you heard that message tonight loud and clear from Gary Knell. Gary?
Thank you very much.
We got to put this on you.
All right.
Okay. So now we have some time for a few questions. I simply ask that you be loud so that we can hear everything.
There's a mic in the back.
Okay, there's a mic in the back.
Don't be shy. Thank you. Thanks.
What got you so interested in geography?
What's the next question? Well, I grew up in Southern California, and it's a very diverse set of geographies there, from the ocean to mountains to the desert to urban, rural, and everything else. And I think at a very young age, I had a travel bug. And I really believe that more Americans need to travel. I'm a big believer in that, and it was just one of those things that I fell in love at a young age with maps, and my parents getting me a subscription to National Geographic when I was 10. And pulling out those maps was the thing I always looked forward to. Others. We can talk about the Muppets. We can talk about... Hi.
How did you discover what you were passionate about? Did it come all at once, just one day you woke up and you were like, this is what I love, or did it come gradually?
Well, I sort of have a checkered career. I'm probably going to get into trouble for saying this, but I didn't really have this like plan to one day I'm going to become the head of National Geographic. I was always very interested in media and the power of media to teach. And as Joan Gans Cooney, the founder of Sesame Street, who was one of my mentors, always would say about television at the time, it wasn't a question of whether television was teaching, it was a question of what was it teaching. So Sesame Street was really built on the concept of instead of teaching kids about sugar-sweetened cereal, let's teach them about letters and numbers, right? Which is why the show is brought to you by the letter P and the number 5 and whatever. And it was really taken after a model of advertising. And that power of media is incredibly important in understanding, and especially in the world, and those of us who view America also from the outside sometimes, and how we get portrayed around the world, both good and not so good, and what we export to the rest of the world and what gets played back gives images of who we are that's not entirely accurate or promoting some things that we may object to. So I think it's really important that storytelling is a big part of science, and I believe that many of the big issues today are really about how do we not so much convince everyone in this room the importance of that, but how are we convince the general public that these issues around geography, the issues around understanding the world are critically important. Flint, Michigan is a geography lesson. That water doesn't come from a faucet in your kitchen. It actually comes from an aquifer or some reservoir or whatever, and somebody made a bad decision, and a lot of kids got lead poisoning. It's a great learning opportunity, though, I think, to teach kids and people about where the water comes from. So what geography is at the end of the day is really teaching people how the world works. And that's a tremendous opportunity and a tremendous responsibility, and I can't think of a better thing to be involved in, but we've got to have the science connected with the storytelling, which is what Alexander Graham Bell was doing back when he tried to put photos in the magazine, and then became television, and then movies, and now Instagram and Snapchat and all these other things. These are all vehicles to use to educate the public about issues that we all care about. And I think that's been part of what's driven me throughout my career, whether it was at Sesame Street or NPR or here at National Geographic. Hi.
What's your favorite place that you've traveled to and why?
Oh, San Marcos, Texas. And I'm running for the state senate. So, no, that's a tough question. You know, I lived in Hong Kong and in Thailand for a short time in the 1990s, and I've lived around the country. I raised my kids in New York, and so we've always kind of had the travel bug, and I always find wherever I am, amazing people and great places to eat, and just following a curiosity. You just have to have that sort of curiosity bug. If there's a certain place you're interested in going to, tell me and I can probably tell you about it. So I've been to a lot of countries, but I've been to all 7 continents, including Antarctica. So and I followed Metallica, who was there, actually, if you can believe it. And they made everyone put headphones on so they wouldn't bother the penguins. I'm not making that up. Yes, there's a question in the back.
How would you envision the world 35 years from now with the population growth and the rise of global warming?
Yeah. Well, there's a couple questions in there. So there's going to be somewhere between 9 and 10 billion people, which is alarming, not because people can't exist. It's going to be a race for resources, and providing energy and housing and food for all of these folks is a real challenge. And many conflicts around the world have their base in those questions. So when I go to Capitol Hill and talk about these issues, it doesn't matter if you're, hard rock conservative or a, far left liberal. Everyone kind of understands that challenge. And the question is what are we going to do to be able to respond to that? And I think and with climate change on top of it, it's a set of challenges that we're all going to have to adapt to. And the question is, are we going to become more isolated by our politics, or are we going to try to respond to global challenges? And this is what a lot of the debate in our country is about today. So National Geographic, I think, has always tried to illuminate the issues about the impact of population, the impact of environmental pollution, the impact on our wildlife, the impact on the human race that a lot of these challenges have, and we're going to continue to do that. I think our role is to try to illuminate the issues so people can understand them and make the appropriate decisions. So we're going to have real challenges ahead, and I think in looking at the world I do think about this stuff. I won't be around in 2100, but you have to begin to think about what the world's going to be like in 2050, and many of you in this room will be here and beyond. And automation and how that's going to create a real pressure on jobs. I actually believe that technology revolution that we're in the middle of has created much of the political tumult that we're seeing globally, not just in America, but around the world. A real questioning of authority as people have a megaphone now to express opinions which too often are getting mistaken for facts. So the lights are on is a fact, it's not my opinion. Whether I think they're too bright or not is an opinion. So we have to we have to really work at these sets of questions. These are questions that we haven't really confronted before. I think that the revolution in technology is very parallel to the Industrial Revolution of 100 years ago, in which many people were thrown out of work. Many revolutions actually happened in the world, in Europe and elsewhere. And we're living now through a very tumultuous time. And I think you guys are going to have to be part of the solution to figure out how we are going to harness this technology for a greater good, and figure out a way in which the world can work out its issues without terrible things happening. And it's a big challenge. So I would urge each of you, as I tell a lot of students, you can choose to do things in your career which can help. And I would urge each of you to really try, as Jane Goodall said, to do something, and not just sort of check out on the world's problems. And I think that each of you as geography majors, and there's so many of you in this room, have already voted to do something. And through the power of GIS and the power of understanding how things work, to make a contribution to the world in a positive way. So I'm really encouraged, Dick and Madam President, of the vote by these students with their own decisions to engage in this work as majors, to hopefully teach their younger brothers, cousins, and others, and maybe in classrooms, some of you later, to inspire people to take those steps to help the changing planet we're in, to help the wildlife who are under tremendous pressure today. I mean, there were 500,000 lions in the wild in Africa when I was born. Today there are 20,000. So 96 elephants being killed every day in Africa, one every 15 minutes by poachers. These problems can be stopped, but it takes some rising up of people who care. So I would urge each of you to try to use these skills that you're learning here at Texas State and make a difference. And I'm confident in the inspiring work by the faculty and the administration support in the Grosvenor Center to do that, and National Geographic will stand with you as partners to make this all happen. And I really appreciate y'all coming out.